So you've made your decision and you want to buy your future dream home in Portugal.
You've seen our previous video on what to do before you start your search.
And now you have your team, your real estate agent, your mortgage broker, and your real estate lawyer.
And you might have even been pre-approved for a mortgage, so you know your budget.
So you're ready to learn where and how to search for a Portuguese property.
And how to negotiate, the expected timeline, and what is this important contract called the CPCV.
In this week's episode, we're going to share all these things, along with our experiences and mistakes we made along the way. So let's go.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Nations Without Borders. My name is Josine.
And I'm Eric, and together with our daughter Nora, we are the Nation family. On our channel, you'll find weekly episodes about our lifestyle here in Portugal, remote work, and family travel. Back in 2022 is when we moved to Portugal, and on this channel, we just share a lot about our knowledge and experiences.
We recently bought our dream home and are now ready to share everything we did and learned along the way.
Including all the mistakes we made. It is episode 2 of the series last week. The video is all about what you need to know before you even start searching for property here in Portugal.
And there's also a part 3 coming, which is all about everything between signing the CPCV and actually signing the deed. Every video is packed with details, lists, contact details of the people that we worked with, and the mistakes that you should avoid.
So if this kind of content resonates with you and you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to our channel. That way next week's episode will automatically show up in your feed.
And don't forget to like this video as well. It really helps us grow this channel. All right, let's dig in. Where do you actually find these properties here in Portugal? Because unlike what you have in the US, Zillow, or in the Netherlands, Funda, there is no single website that rules them all, like where all the properties are to be found.
Yeah, but the biggest website and kind of your main starting point is going to be idealista.pt. They also have it for Spain, but also in Portugal. And if you were going to compare anything to like Zillow in the United States, this would be the most comparable application for it. And they have all the filters you're going to want. How many bedrooms, air conditioning or not, swimming pool or not. All these kinds of filters they have on it, everything that you would expect. And it's a pretty good website.
Yeah, but don't expect the full story here. Idealista is not as fully featured as Zillow is. Like, for example, you don't get to see when it was actually sold before in previous years or for how much. It's just not that transparent, and that information is not easily accessible here in Portugal.
Also, almost anyone can list their property on Idealista. This includes the homeowners, real estate agents, or even people without legal authority to sell property on Idealista. So you really need to have your guard up, or even better, let your real estate agent be the one that's reaching out to these sellers. But Idealista is not the only website, obviously. There are plenty of others, and we're just gonna list them off here real quick so you can explore for yourself. First up, we got Imo Virtual. This is kind of like Idealista's cousin with a mix of private sellers and agents. You also have Casa Sapo. It's an old school portal, good for some rural gems. You got Super Casa, which has a more modern interface, great for comparing new builds. Then you have good old OLX and Custo Justo. These are more like classified ads, sometimes gold, sometimes garbage. And then we have Green Acres and Quiero, tailored to foreigners, English friendly and lifestyle focused. And let's not forget, you have Remax, Century 21, and Era. And sometimes these have exclusives that you won't find on other websites, so make sure you check those out as well.
Now here's something nobody tells you. If you reach out to the sellers directly on Idealista or anywhere else with just a simple question, you might cut out your own real estate agent. So let's talk about how that works and how your real estate agent actually gets paid, because you're not paying that person. When a house gets sold, the seller pays, let's say, 5% to their seller agent, so their seller real estate agent. That 5% fee gets shared with the buyer's agent, your agent, if they bring a buyer to them. So if you're reaching out to the sellers directly, you're overstepping what your real estate agent should be doing. So that real estate agent is going to get the message with like, yeah, but you didn't bring the buyers here, they went to us directly. So if you're reaching out on any website with like, hey, I have a question about this property, you might just be registered as a direct buyer instead of through your real estate agent. So that is another reason for you to like use your real estate agent to do all the connecting and contacting with the sellers. They can still help you. If they don't get the fee, they're probably not going to help you anymore. So it's super important.
And it's a pretty nice setup because at the beginning of the deal, when you're working with your agent, you don't have to pay anything up front to them, which is really nice. They get paid at the end of the deal by the commission from the seller's agent.
Yeah, so make sure that your real estate agent is the one introducing you to the sellers and not in any other way. Another thing that I need to add here, though, we've heard some horror stories and I've read some Reddits about like real estate agents that are only out there for the fee. So they are not really interested in like what you buy as long as you buy. That's of course not in your best interest. So I want to have it mentioned, not all real estate agents are the best.
Yeah, I think this is true of anywhere, but we've heard this from multiple sources here in Portugal through our technical inspector and then also plenty of the research we've done. So it's just something to be aware of. Make sure you find a good one that you were referred by. The real estate agent that we used, Rita Pedrulo.
Yep.
She was a game changer. She was absolutely amazing. Her communication was on point. She was very responsive. She has access to a team of specialists, including a mortgage broker and real estate lawyer, and she has just everyone in her network. And yeah, she made our buying journey an absolute breeze, and we would not have made it without her.
Yeah, absolutely. Super transparent, good communication. She's even like, she didn't push us to buy anything. Even if she felt like, hey, this property didn't feel right for you, or am I wrong? Like she really goes with her gut feeling. If something is off, she tells you. If she has like that feeling, that nag, or like this is not okay.
Yeah, she works with Century 21, and we actually viewed a house that we really liked with Century 21, which made it easier for her because that's her agency was working with. And we were like, it's not really our style, and she didn't push the house at all. She's like, nope, let's go to the other house that you like better, which was not with her agency. So.
And was actually priced lower than the one that we also viewed. So she is not pushing, she is definitely in the game for you, and we cannot say anything bad about her. She is just the best. So if you really are still looking for a real estate agent, go with Rita.
And just so you know, we don't have any deal worked out with Rita, and we're not getting kickbacks. We just think she's awesome, and we know how hard it can be to find a good real estate agent. But before we wrap up this section, here are a few things you must know about real estate listings here in Portugal that will save you from some major headaches.
Yeah, so first off, the same listing can appear on multiple websites for different prices.
And some agents keep old listings online even after the property's been sold. That's just to get your attention to generate leads.
Yeah, number 3 is that AI is in the game. So sometimes you see pictures that are maybe just too good to be true. Be aware of that.
And many listings won't tell you the exact location. They'll just say the parish or the district that it's in.
Yeah, that's maybe my most annoying thing that I see in listings, that it's not the right location. The next one is that there might be a pool and there might be a garage or a guest house on the property, but they might just be illegally built, so not registered with the municipality. Make sure that you're aware of that.
Yeah, you won't know that until you do a walkthrough of the house and you ask the seller's agent those questions. Yeah, and that matters a lot because when the bank goes to appraise the property, they're gonna value it at whatever is legally registered and has a license on the property. So if the seller puts a swimming pool on there or they turn the garage into a livable space, but they didn't get it licensed or registered with the municipality, they might value the property at whatever they think it's worth with all those add-ons, but the bank doesn't care. If it's not legal, then they can't value it at that, which is going to make you pay more money out of pocket if you want to get a mortgage on the house.
And lastly, number 6, listings online don't always mention AL licenses. That's the license for short-term rentals. So if you want to rent the property out on Airbnb, for example, you need to have that license. Listings don't always talk about having an AL license, or they say they have one, but it's about to expire or be taken away, cannot be renewed, or the area doesn't provide those anymore. So make sure that you're aware of that as well.
Bottom line is the listings only tell part of the story, and the rest you uncover yourself by asking the right questions and having the right team in place to help you out.
All right, so your real estate agent arranged a viewing for you, or maybe multiple in a day. How do you prepare?
First, you want to treat every house viewing like a technical inspection. Make a list of the things you don't want and do want. Make a list of things you want to check. Bring things like a tape measure or even a moisture reader for concrete walls in case it's an older house in Portugal where moisture tends to be a problem. Just make sure you have everything organized, because when you're viewing multiple houses in a day and you're rushed or whatever and you're on limited time, easy to forget stuff. So make sure you document and take photos and videos, because trust me, you're going to want to go back later and reference those.
Yeah, I think we did a really good job stop at making a checklist per house of things that we really wanted to check. But also all the videos that we took during every viewing that we've done really help with like, how was that? Or how was that room? Or where was the door? Or any little detail you can capture in a video. So yeah, have a checklist with you, prepare like that. Another thing before you even enter the property is something like check the neighborhood, check the surroundings. Do you hear dogs barking? Is the road a busy road? Is there a church nearby that maybe gets very busy on Sundays?
Are you next to any nightclubs or bars that are only noisy at night and you don't discover until you actually move in, and then you're like, damn it.
Yeah, so make sure you check the surroundings before you even step into the property.
Now, when you're inside walking through the house, don't be shy. I would focus on any negatives or anything that might be wrong with the house instead of just falling in love with it first, especially if it's an older home in Portugal, because older homes don't have hardly any insulation. They're made out of brick and concrete. And so if you're in a region with lots of humidity and moisture, you can have damp issues in the walls. So if you're willing to invest in it, I would recommend buying a moisture reader. You can buy them on Amazon or Leroy Merlin between 30 and 60 euros, and it will give you a reading on how much damp there is in the wall. And if you're getting extreme high levels of damp in many walls around the house, that might be a red flag and something to either negotiate on or be aware of, or maybe you just want to skip that house altogether.
Yeah.
But yeah, try and focus on just finding everything that's wrong with the house. That way you can make a list of things to bring up with your technical inspector.
Also, when we're talking about insulation, check all the windows and all the doors, because with like temperature changes, if the framework is wooden, that might just change in shape and might not close enough anymore or has some gaps.
A lot of the older houses have single pane, so
Yeah.
check if they're double or single pane.
Yeah, and that has an influence on your energy label of the house. Every house in Portugal needs to be sold with an energy label. And that label depends on, for example, insulation and the windows. So that is an important one to check. Another thing to figure out during the viewing or after the viewing, that's also possible, but it's about like what is a fixture and what is an appliance, what stays, what goes. There can be confusion here about the differences between the two.
In Portuguese civil law, it does define what is a fixture versus an appliance, but different people have different perspectives on that. So make sure that is all explicitly listed in the CPVC contract, which we will get into later.
Yeah.
Another thing when you visit the house is ask the seller's agent for a floor plan. That way you can get an accurate read on the square meters in the house and compare that with what's listed on Idealistic, because you just want to make sure that your price per square meter is actually accurate with what's listed.
And then another one, if it is an apartment that you're building, make sure that you have insights on the HOA meeting notes or what is going to happen. Like, are your neighbors planning a renovation that the building approved of? Are there rules for shared spaces like the hallway? Is there quiet hours? What about trash? Those things. You want to know about the HOA meeting note.
There is no elevator. Are they planning on putting one in the building?
And you need to pay for that.
And remember, when you view the house, it's not just about falling in love with your future dream home. It's also about finding any potential flaws in the house. So make sure you're prepared, have a checklist, take your time, don't be rushed, and just make sure you note down any faults that you may want to provide to your technical inspector.
Yeah, because all the things that you find during this viewing can be used in negotiation. And that is the next point that we're going to talk about. Oh, and lastly, make sure that your real estate agent is with you during the viewing. Not all sellers or seller agents speak English, and your real estate agent can then translate for you.
All right. Amazing, you have found the house of your dreams and now you want to make an offer.
Now, there are two paths you can go here. One is that you just simply make an offer without doing a technical inspection. This is most common for newly built houses. And number two is asking the sellers to keep the house reserved for you so that they're not going to show it to anyone else and you have time to do a technical inspection. This would be before or after you make an offer. In our opinion, it's better if you do the technical inspection before you make an offer, because then it's more likely that the seller is open to negotiating on the price in case there are major issues found. If you make an offer and then get the technical inspection done, it is less likely that the seller wants to renegotiate the offer price, even if you find issues with the house.
And part of the reason for this is because it's not common practice in Portugal to conduct a technical inspection like it is over in the United States.
Although it is becoming more and more accepted because so many people are moving to Portugal.
Now, we have had two different situations where we made an offer on a house where we got technical inspections done. The first one, we made an offer on the house and the offer got accepted, but it was with the condition that we had time to conduct the technical inspection and reserve the house so that it would not be shown to anyone else. They accepted this condition as long as we made a 10,000 euro deposit, which was gonna only be refundable if there were major issues found. So long story short, we had a technical inspection. We found some major issues, unfortunately, because I did love that house. We tried to renegotiate with the seller, but he wouldn't budge, so we backed out of the deal, and fortunately, we got our $10K deposit back.
And the other house that we wanted to make an offer on did not require us to make a deposit for the reservation, and they allowed us to do the technical inspection before we made our final offer.
Yeah, so different sellers, different deals. Every deal is going to have its differences.
And just with like the property search, let your real estate agent do the communication during this negotiation process, because they know the culture, the tactics, the language, the tact that is needed in this process. So I would recommend letting them do the communication.
Yeah, because negotiation is more than just about price. There's different variables that you can negotiate on. For example, you can also negotiate the terms on the date of when you sign the CPVC contract, or how far out you're going to sign the deed and actually get the keys from the sellers. You can negotiate on which appliances or furniture may stay. Make sure you clarify on which things are fixtures and should stay with the house, because different people have different perspectives on that. Pro tip, you can negotiate on the transfer of an AL license. What else can?
Renovations, if stuff is unfinished and you want that to be finished before you move in.
If there's garbage to collect or clean up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of different things. So every deal is different, and you can wiggle it the way that you want it to work for you.
So as you can tell, it all depends on the seller, the seller's agent, and what they are willing to do during the negotiation process.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the technical inspection process, because we got some pro tips for you. And we'll just give you a little bit of advice based on our own experience. So on the houses that we made offers on, we got technical inspections. We got it from 2 different ones to just kind of test the waters and see what was out there, because we found one guy out there who was a foreigner but has lived in Portugal for a very long time. His name is Tom Jennings. He's great, from TLJ or TJ Inspections. We'll put a link in the description. But he did a fantastic job. He was very thorough. He has lots of years of experience of building houses, not only in Australia, but also in Nordic countries. And he's been a contractor. He's been there. He knows his stuff. And when he came out, he brings all the tools and the gadgets, and you can tell he's very professional, and he takes videos of everything and explains it in detail and provides you with a very detailed report. It was great, but you do get what you pay for, so he's a little bit more on the pricey side in my opinion, but I think the value is there, and we were very happy with his service. But he was very thorough, so he found some major issues with the house, and which is great. He saved us, I think, in that regard. And then for another house, we used a Portuguese civil engineer that was referred to us, and when this guy came out, all he did was a visual inspection. He didn't bring any tools. I actually brought my own moisture meter for the concrete walls to detect moisture, and he seemed very surprised. Like, have you ever worked in construction before? I'm like, no, bro, but I freaking did my research. Like, Jesus, I was so pissed and bummed that he didn't bring any tools to like actually measure things and whatnot. So obviously the benefit to him is he was on the cheaper side, but he also had lots of years of experience in Portuguese construction. But yeah, his inspection was all visual. So I don't know, you kind of got to pick what you want. Regardless, my advice would be, like, when you do your research and you pick a technical inspection, make sure you read the reviews, or make sure they come referred by someone that you trust and they do a good job, and they'll put together a report for you. And make sure that they are reading the moisture levels in the wall if the house isn't not in a dry region, because there are lots of regions in Portugal that are very humid and moist, and if it's an older house, it's not uncommon that there'll be moisture issues in the wall. So just be on the lookout for that.
Do we have a ballpark of what to expect for the costs?
Yeah, so you can expect to spend anywhere between 300 probably minimum, up to 1,000 or even 1,500 depending on the size of the property. If it's like, a huge property, it will obviously be more, but for your average 3 to 5 bedroom house, probably up to 1,000. So it just depends on how much they have to inspect and the condition of the property that you're thinking about buying. All right, congratulations. Your offer has been accepted. You can take a breath, relax a little bit, but don't pop champagne bottles just yet, because there is still work to do.
Yeah, so once your offer is accepted, you do want to move forward right away with 3 things you need to do, actually. First one is to set a date for the CPCV signing. That is usually 2 to 4 weeks after you come to an agreement. Have that date in your schedule. Then get the bank's appraisal. Someone from the bank has to go to the property and value the house. And then the third is your lawyer to start doing the due diligence, legal work to check if everything is okay in terms of paperwork. All right, let's just talk a little bit more about that due diligence process. So your lawyer has to look at multiple things here. So first is the caderneta predial and certidão permanente. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong.
That's the land registry plus the official record.
Yes. He also needs to look at the property floor plans, or basically all the plans that are available, and if they actually match with the house. This is also to find out if a extension of the house or the pool is illegally built, or if there's no unlicensed part of the building. They also need to check if there's overdue debts, taxes, condominium fees, name it. If there's any debt there, the lawyer will find out.
Any outstanding liens.
And then they need to check the zoning issues or urban planning restrictions that there possibly are on the land that you're buying, like rural versus urban land or coastal protection zones. Very important to know about those two.
Yeah, so basically as soon as your offer is accepted, the seller's agent will sell you all the paperwork you need, you send all that information to your lawyer, and then they get started right away.
Yeah. Just a disclaimer here, we are not legal experts, so this is not legal advice at all. Let your lawyer tell you what he's going to do, what paperwork is needed for him to do his job, and everything else involved. This is just a list of the things that we came across in our journey.
Yeah, but don't be afraid to use AI or GPT as a good paralegal, because if you ask GPT like what documents are needed in the due diligence process from the lawyer, they'll give you a list and then you have a better understanding of what your lawyer is actually doing. All right, and lastly is the bank appraisal. This is also another step that is done before the CPVC contract is signed. The bank will send an independent third-party surveyor out there, and they will appraise the property. They'll go out there and then they will assign a value to the property based on what they think. And this is where it's important if there is any unregistered or unlicensed modifications to the house, because if there is, the bank will likely appraise it at a value that is lower than the asking price, depending.
Now, what does that mean? Let's make an example. You see a house that is listed for 500,000 euros, and the bank comes in with an appraisal at 450 because there is a guest house in the backyard that is unlicensed. So the seller sees the guest house as added value to the property and says that's 50K worth. But the bank does not, because it's just an illegal building on the property. You are pre-approved for a mortgage with the bank, let's say at 90%. The mortgage financing of 90% is for your offer or the bank's appraisal, whichever is the lowest. So let's say the house is listed for 500K, the appraisal is 450K, and after negotiating, you land on a price of 475K. Then that 90% financing for your mortgage will be on the 450K, because that's the lowest one. Then you have two options basically. You use that for renegotiating the offer that you make with like, hey, the bank values this house a lot lower than what you're listing it for, so I want to renegotiate. Or you have to pay that part out of your own pocket in cash.
Which is not uncommon. So unfortunately, there's a lot of illegal modifications in houses that people just don't bother to get licensed or registered because it is an expensive and lengthy process, or can be. So just make sure you have a little bit of an extra buffer in cash in case the bank does appraise it lower than the offer price.
Yeah, to help you out here, we made a spreadsheet with these calculations in there with the out-of-pocket costs. So not only this appraisal scenario, but also with like the notary fees and all the things. We have a link in the description to this spreadsheet that you can use, and that's where you fill out the data yourself. Like, this was the offer price, this is what we agreed on, this is what the appraisal is at, and then it spits out a number in the end for you to know like, okay, this is my out-of-pocket cost if we go this route with this offer.
She loves spreadsheets.
I do. Last thing I'm going to say about this here is that the bank's appraisal, the due diligence work, and the technical inspection do not have to be done in a certain order. They can happen async. But in our experience, the bank's appraisal might take some time to get that scheduled. So if it was up to me, I would do that one first, or get that in motion first, so that the rest can just be done after. And that will be shorter time frame. But the bank's appraisal might take some time.
All of this might sound like a lot, but it's worth it. The more you know up front, the more negotiating bargaining power you'll have, and less likely the chance of you facing any like expensive surprises later on. So just make sure you do all your due diligence and get all your ducks in order. Okay, so now it's time for one of the most important steps in buying property in Portugal, which is signing the CPVC contract.
Yes, the CPCV is the promissory contract. It is a legally binding contract between you and the sellers with all the information in there before signing the deed. It is similar to the purchase agreement in the US. It lists the price, the conditions, like all the information is in there. It's just that here in Portugal, they split it in two steps, the CPCV signing and then the deed signing, where the purchase agreement in the US usually leads straight to closing and you getting the keys. There's no extra contract there. And this is the part that makes everyone nervous, because when you sign the CPCV, you have to pay the deposit to the sellers. So that is, if your mortgage is financing you for 90%, then that 10% you need to transfer at the CPCV signing to the seller, not to the notary to keep it in escrow, to the seller. The thing is here that if you pull out the deal after signing and with a valid reason, you get that back. But if you don't have a valid reason, you lose that deposit. And if the seller backs out of the deal, they have to return that deposit to you, but also double it.
Yeah, so there are contingencies in the CPVC that will protect you, and if any like conditions are met within those contingencies, then you'll be able to get a refund back, but if not, then you lose your deposit. So you want to make sure everything is dialed in airtight and that you are protected. So make sure you have your lawyer put those protection contingencies in the CPVC for you.
And that's why it's absolutely essential that you have your lawyer review this contract and that you get it in English, so that you can review it yourself as well.
All right, so what does that moment actually look like? You'll go to the notary's office with your lawyer, your real estate agent, the seller, and their lawyer too. The notary will go through the contract, check the terms. Everyone will bring their passport and the IDs and just check that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed.
Yeah, so for the CPCV signing and the deed signing, you will want to have a translator there. This cannot be your real estate agent this time. It has to be your lawyer or a certified translator.
Once everyone agrees, you sign the contract, you transfer the deposit, you pay the notary fees, and boom! You are now locked into the deal to get your house.
All right, let's quickly recap all the events and adding a timeline that you can expect per step. So it starts with the viewing. Usually scheduled within a week. In our case, we had a viewing 3 days after seeing it on Idealista. The second is like making an offer, typically within a few days. In our case, we asked for extra time to do the technical inspection first. So in our case, it was 11 days before we made an offer.
If there's a lot of demand in that particular market, you might want to make an offer that same day or next day.
Yeah, and then when your offer is accepted, this can be a week, but in our case, it was 2 months of going back and forth negotiating. So it can take some time there. Fourth is technical check, the due diligence, bank appraisal. All these things can happen at the same time async, so it's not like an add-on here. Technical inspection, usually around 2 to 3 weeks. In our case, 11 days to get it done. The due diligence report, usually around a week, depending on your lawyer. In our case, indeed, a week was pretty fast. Then the bank appraisal, normally around 2 to 3 weeks. In our case, 3 weeks. It was pretty stressful to get it all done in time. The fifth is drafting the CPCV. The seller's agent does that, and usually you receive that within 1 or 2 weeks. In our case, it was 2 weeks, and we got it in Portuguese only, so we had to get the translation done. Then signing the CPCV at the notary is normally within 30 days after getting to an agreement. In our case, it was 8 days after our offer was accepted. So in total, we're talking about 4 to 6 weeks if everything is going the normal way. Our case, it was 9 to 10 weeks total roundabout, from viewing the house to signing the CPCV.
All right, I think we have covered everything that can happen between when you search for your dream home online and signing the CPVC.
Yeah, it might sound overwhelming, and it is a lot of information, but we like to be thorough and give you a realistic picture of what will happen in between those two and tell you what to look out for.
Yeah, and if all the information we have shared with you today has helped you, then do us a favor and please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because it really helps us out, and that way future videos will automatically show up in your feed.
Yes, and be on the lookout for part 3 on the home buying series, because we're gonna make a video about everything between the CPCV signing and then the deed signing. So think about getting your mortgage approved, getting a life insurance, a home insurance, and eventually going to the notary to sign the deed and get the keys.
Thank you for watching today, and remember,
Explore life beyond borders. Bye.
Ciao, adios.
Ciao.